You're listening to Flywheel Factory with Mike Lynch and Steve Warren. Most small business owners don't have a motivation problem, they have a momentum problem. You're working hard, but it feels like you're starting from scratch every week. We're here to help you build systems that actually work so you can grow without burning out. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Steve, the last several weeks, yes, since we launched Mastering the Art of Content Creation, we've really started ramping up flywheeler calls. This is essentially the mastermind behind the Flywheel Factory, and in that we have this opportunity where bloggers are really coming in. It's a tighter group because today it's still in its growth and launching stage, and so bloggers are and members there are more. I would say they're more familiar with each other. They have some rapport that they've built up and some friendships, and so they're willing to be, I think, a little more vulnerable. And one of the topics that you're really astute to these things. I'm not. That but you labeled it and you said, I really think a lot of people are having burnout, and you've had some really interesting observations around this, and I know you spend time in many blog communities as part of, to quote, your day job. So I'm curious to start getting your thoughts, because as a blogger today, there's times where I feel it, but I am curious how you're seeing it pick up and how it might manifest kind of in the work that people are doing.
Yeah, so we've been seeing this quite a bit lately, and I think everyone's in the same boat. And the reality is we all have a limited amount of time. So what we're trying to do, what when we talked about last week about procrastination and or in our last call, we talked about procrastination, and what we see is that we're once we do get over the procrastination, we're looking at different areas on how we can refine our process. We know that we want to have a freedom lifestyle where we can travel or do be with our family, spend our time with our family. So we stumble across blogging. Blogging is a way to work from home. It's a way to make really good money without and work it around your life. So we take a course, we get into the course, and like the first thing that we learn is we have to learn how to do WordPress, which is something completely brand new, completely off the scope of what we've ever done before. And once we figure out WordPress, now we have hosting that we're figuring out. We have and even just to get the hosting to work, we have to make sure that we have all of the parts and pieces in order. And before you know it, you've spent the first few weeks as a coder, as a designer, as a technician, learning everything that you need to know, even just to get the blog off the ground. And most of the time, like even just in our community, we see that it takes weeks and sometimes months to get the very first blog post written and published.
Yeah.
And even then, they don't feel really good about that. But then once we start writing these blog posts, then we realize, oh, there's more to just hitting publish. We
Right.
we have to we have to go through and make sure that we have the correct image alt text. We have to have the correct meta descriptions. We start getting into SEO, and we know that we can't just speak the way that we normally do. We have to include all these other things. And now, of course, we have generative engine optimization that we're concerned about. But then
Yeah.
also, we know that it's not just as simple as just writing one blog post. We have to have Facebook. We have to have Pinterest. We have to have all of these other areas and then suddenly this thing that was supposed to simplify our life has complicated it even more. We're spending less time with our family. We're not enjoying the travels that we do. So before too long, we're hitting this wall. This
But
where
let me interrupt. Don't forget about the stress that is also called helpful content update,
exactly. So you've
right?
spent yeah. So you spent all this time writing all these blog posts, and you've followed all the rules, and you start to gain some traction, and you're seeing some results for your work, and then all of a sudden another algorithm shift comes, and it just completely knocks you back to square one again.
Right.
So it
And
can
like
be
you, your
yeah.
your site got nailed
Mhm.
on it, right?
Yeah.
And you've invested. not just time, which is frankly the only asset that we have, but you invested
Mhm,
money. You did math and you said, um, okay, if I spend $150 to write this post and it makes $10 a month in, you know, 18 months, I'm going to be making money on this thing. And,
mhm.
you bet on the future with today's dollars. And then, somebody totally outside your control who you'll never meet, like flip the switch in the background and that post and all your posts all of a sudden lost all the traffic overnight.
Yeah, exactly. So you wind up with all of this, of course, these are all lessons learned, and it's maybe eventually those things will recover, and some of them have, some of them haven't, but it's a constant change. I was able to get a lot of those to recover, and then another algorithm hits. So you're constantly keeping up with that. So it can be demoralizing. So
Yeah.
that's when we hit a wall, and I've seen quite a few lately that have just completely walked away from their blogs. And some of them they just get neglected. They don't think about it. Others are just making the decision to, hey, I'm shutting my blog down after 4 or 5 years of working on this, and the reason behind it is not because blogging doesn't work. It's because there's an unrealistic expectation from what it takes to blog.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's, to go off of what you said, you said it's not that blogging doesn't work. To add to that sentence, I would say it's because blogging is a ton of work.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
y-
Content creation in general is a ton of work, right?
yeah, yeah. And you and I were kind of riffing back and forth through email about, how this is kind of like you book a trip, with your family and now you get an email that says, okay, we'll show up to the airport 3 hours early because you have to load your luggage and everybody else's luggage onto the plane. And then you're going to be the first person off to unload it all. And the cart's not working. So you got to carry it all to the baggage terminal. And then you need to replace all the tires on the rental car and, finish painting your hotel room, right? Like just to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it really is. It's a ridiculous amount of work that you have to do just to get your blog off the ground. And we talked a little bit about that too. Even just like if you compare it to a car, like if what we were what the idea was or what the dream was, hey, start a blog, free up your time, create the lifestyle that you want. And to me, that's a lot like a car salesman saying, "Hey, jump in this car and drive away." And realistically, that is what happens with the car dealership. They'll pop the hood, they'll show you under the hood, but they're not going to explain exactly how the engine and transmission work. They're not going to describe the internal combustion engine, and they're certainly not going to make you build your own before you get in that car. They're not gonna make you put the tires on. They're not gonna make you build your own engine. The idea of buying a car was because of the results that it gives you, where you jump in, you turn the key, and you drive away. And that's really what the idea is behind blogging. Hey, here I am. I'm blogging. I'm making a successful lifestyle out of my blog, and you can too. It's as if we're just going to jump in, turn the key, and we're going to start driving. And I think that's what our expectation is. But of course, in reality, there's always a little bit more to it than just simply turning the key and starting the car. We know that there's going to be some work to it, but I don't think if we understood exactly what it took to maintain this, we wouldn't have bought into that.
yeah, for sure. I think that it's, we always in some of my past lives we've always talked about the relative ease is directly opposite to how close you are to doing the work. And I think one of the other elements that makes it challenging is so many so many folks who are promoting the lifestyle. um you see their success, right? And rightfully, they've worked very hard for that, and they've been in the right place at the right time with the right level of work before that and so forth. Um, on the other hand, it's really easy to kind of compare yourself to, somebody who, is out proclaiming, "I make 6 figures doing this." Um, and I'm sure that that is possible, but there are a lot of things that have to go right in order for that to be possible. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we have to distinguish between a business and a hobby, and essentially when we get started, it is a hobby. If you're not making money at it, but you're spending a lot of time on it, hopefully it's something that you enjoy doing. But if you really want to make money with anything, you have to look at it as a business.
I agree. And I think that is an element where we don't talk about it enough. It's almost like, if you really sat down, if I had sat down 2.5 years ago and really thought about this as running a business, my focus probably would have been very, very different. Um, what I started to really see traction with were posts that centered around kind of, in marketing words, bottom of the funnel. And as opposed to some of the things that early I really wanted to write about, which were like taking my family on this hike or, going on an adventure to do explore Yellowstone, right? But the reality is, um, outside of my parents, who sometimes probably don't care either, nobody really wants to read like what Mike, Sarah, Madeline, and Jack are like doing in Yellowstone Park. They want to understand how how will my family enjoy this experience? How will I save money by buying this product or investing in whatever it is that you're talking about? How will it make me look like I'm making good decisions to, my significant other, my spouse, or my kids, right? Because at the end of the day, like to I don't want to take us to like the worst hotel on the block. So of course I'm going to do some research there. So I want to look like, you know, I want my family to have a good time. And I think we all want inherently kind of the same thing. Like, you know, water is a big thing in our blog, right? So like I want clean water. Well, everybody wants clean water. So some people are willing to spend $1,000 on their setup and some people can spend, you know, under $100 on their setup. Doesn't make one right or wrong. It just means we have to talk about that. And if we say, well, this is the only way to do it, then likely we're not going to have a lot of traction there.
Yeah. So, what is the solution? How do we, we address burnout, but what can we do about it? Like, is it inevitable that we're just constantly going to be this content machine, just following whatever the algorithm is telling us to do, and then pumping out content to all these other social media platforms? What's the solution for it?
Yeah, well, I I think that the solution. Well, I think there's a lot of pieces that go into the solution, but I think part of it is recognizing that as a solopreneur, which every one of us is in this journey. Um, it doesn't mean that you have to be the expert in every single thing. Um, it means that you need partners along the side, and that's tough. But if you're running a business and 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 you want that business to be successful, you may be able to get it from 1 or 0 to 1 or 0 to point 0.5 by yourself within a couple of months, but soon you have to start making those investments. And that might be somebody who understands Facebook. It might be somebody who understands how to put together a newsletter in an efficient way for you that's going to convert. But it's finding those kind of partners along the way so that every time you realize I need to I need to add on X, um, you don't have to go learn that entire new skill set because Facebook's algorithm is different than Google's algorithm, and it's different than ChatGPT's algorithm. Um, and so trying to be an expert in all of those things is a sure definition to going crazy and being totally burned out. Um, I think we're in a really amazing time, which is this time of AI as you know, it's really starting to ramp up. And there are a lot of tools, automations, agents that can help a creator along the way. So, you can be on this journey, but you don't have to be on the journey all by yourself. I think about, call it AI in sort of four buckets. Um, kind of bucket number one is generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. And within that, you can create your own individual custom GPTs that I would refer to as agents. And these agents are really trained to do very specific tasks, and give you a fairly consistent output. And you can train them to use your voice, you can train them to create blogs, you can train them to create social, right? Like anything that you're doing, you can really train these agents to do. And the nice thing here is virtually anyone can learn how to do this. It's very simple, and we train people to do that all the time. The other thing that's super nice about those is um, it keeps the human in the loop. And I don't know about you, Steve, but as a blogger, that's I liked having this ability to say yes or no, this is going to go on my site.
Yeah.
Um,
And and to your point, and there are a lot of hats to wear as a blogger or as a content creator, right? If you're creating video content, if you're creating your newsletter, whatever it is, there's a lot of hats to wear. So when you're talking about delegating, oftentimes I think it's important to know when we're first starting, it's difficult to know number one who to delegate to. Number two, how could you can't afford to continually delegate to other experts and people when you're first starting out. So you kind of need something that's low cost and low maintenance, but that also is easy and quick to train, right? So when we think about like what we can delegate, we're starting off with AI. That's kind of what you're saying here, right?
that's right. And then I think that leads into buckets two, three, and four. Um, and I would say that most of us are never going to get all the way through that pipe. But bucket two of AI would be AI automations, which are automating routine types of tasks. And but these can be things as much as creating a blog post, creating your social post, and you're integrating AI elements into that, which makes it really a very dynamic tool. The third bucket is something more like an AI agent. And this would be an agentic type agent where I'm going to um let's think about it this way. Like the best example is there's a chat bot on your just say you put a chat bot through, say you build one using Pickaxe, which is a tool that we love to teach people how to use. And you build this and you give it some knowledge in terms of documents, you give it some knowledge in terms of instructions, and then a reader on your site starts asking questions of this bot. Well, this bot isn't waiting for a human to be in the loop. It's not really an automation. What it's doing is it's determining based on the instructions and the knowledge that you've uploaded how to best answer this question. And so now we've created um, effectively an agentic agent that is focused in on answering a question. Should I take luggage on this trip? Should I take a car seat? What's the weather looking like? How do I pack appropriately? Right. And then, the output maybe it spits out a packing list. Um, and that's a really, in my mind, a really, really dynamic way to have an opt-in lead magnet freebie there because I didn't have to waste time creating the opt-in. It's very customized and very specific to what Steve might be asking for. And then if, you know, Angie comes in and is looking for something, like it's going to be specific to her. And now all of a sudden, they're saying, well, Mike's blog, like that's like a really helpful tool. So they hopefully are helping to be, promoters for you. That would be, in my mind, one of the best cases for something like that. And then the fourth element is machine learning. And arguably, this is the oldest piece of AI. This is decades old.
Mhm.
Um, but the reality is this takes advanced coding, it takes a lot of interconnection, and frankly, it takes a ton of data. And effectively, this is what sits behind ChatGPT or a ton of other like really, really sophisticated tools that are out there. So the chances that you or me or many other bloggers are ever going to create that much data in our lives and then frankly feel like building that type of vehicle to drive, like remote. But these other tools are like totally within your reach. And at Flywheel, like we're teaching people how to do this. It's frankly one of the most fun things that I'm working on right now. And I'll let you in on a side note. Sarah and I were driving the other day, and we were talking about my website, and she said, it seems like you're not having fun with it as much anymore. It's just not as interesting." And I said, "Huh, well, tell me more." And she said, "Well, right now, like you seem so into all of this AI automation, like that seems to excite you right now." So, but you're not wrong. And there's elements that I still like about my blog, but the element of it is super super cool. I feel like this is our version of the industrial revolution, and it's
Mhm.
amazing to be part of it.
That's it for today. We'll pick this conversation back up in the next episode. Want to stop spinning your wheels and start building real momentum? Head to flywheelfactory.io. We'll show you how. And if this episode helped, do us a favor. Share it with another business owner who needs to hear it and leave us a review. It helps us reach more small businesses like yours. Thanks for listening. See you next time.